When people hear financial abuse, they imagine one dramatic situation: a husband locking his wife indoors, someone collecting another person's salary, a partner refusing to buy food. But financial abuse is usually quieter than that. It often starts looking like care, like leadership, like I'm just trying to help us, like I'm better with money, like, I worry about you. The thing is, African societies normalize control inside relationships. Many people don't even realize they're being financially abused until years later, when they are trapped, isolated, dependent, and too exhausted to leave. Financial abuse is not just about money, it is about power, control, dependency, fear, punishment. It is when somebody slowly rearranges your financial life in a way that makes you smaller, weaker, and less free. And the dangerous thing is that some of the red flags sound romantic at first. Don't stress yourself. I'll take care of everything. You don't need to work. Why are you saving money separately from me? Why are you listening to your friends? Just let me handle the finances. At first, it feels like love. Until one day you realize you have no access to money, no confidence, no financial independence, and no ability to make decisions without permission. Sadly, many people are in financially abusive relationships right now without realizing it. So let's talk about the red flags people are usually oblivious to. One major red flag is when somebody becomes uncomfortable with your independence. Notice this carefully. Healthy partners may support you financially sometimes, but abusive people resent your ability to survive without them. So they start subtly attacking your independence. Maybe they discourage your business, they mock your career, they make jokes about your ambitions, they suddenly become insecure whenever you succeed. A woman gets a promotion, and instead of celebration, her partner starts saying, "So now you think you're better than me? You've changed. You're becoming too proud." A man starts a small business and suddenly his partner becomes emotionally cold anytime he talks about growth, because for controlling people, your independence feels threatening. Financial abuse often begins where control meets insecurity. Another red flag people ignore is when somebody wants full visibility into your money but hides theirs. They ask, "How much do you have in your account? How much did your client pay you? What's your salary now?" But when you ask them the same questions, they become defensive or angry, or they say, "Why are you interrogating me?" Now, listen carefully. Transparency is healthy in serious relationships, but forced transparency that only flows one direction is not intimacy, it is surveillance. Some people want access to your financial life not because they want partnership, but because they want control. Another subtle sign is when somebody constantly creates financial emergencies around you. There are people who are always drowning, always in crisis, always one problem away from collapse. And somehow you are expected to rescue them every single time. Their rent, their fuel, their debt, their siblings' school fees, their business mistake, their betting losses, their urgent situation. At first, you help because you care. But after a while, you realize something disturbing. Your life is becoming smaller while theirs remains irresponsible. Financial abuse is not always somebody taking your money aggressively. Sometimes it is somebody building a lifestyle around draining you emotionally and financially while contributing chaos in return. Since empathy is weaponized against kind people, victims often feel guilty for becoming tired. Another red flag is when somebody shames you for spending money on yourself. Watch for this carefully. They are comfortable spending on themselves, but your own spending suddenly becomes wasteful. You buy clothes, you're too materialistic, you pay for therapy. So strangers are now collecting your money. You buy something nice after working hard. You don't know how to prioritize. Over time, you begin to feel guilty for enjoying your own money. That is not normal. A healthy relationship should not make you feel like a criminal for taking care of yourself. Another dangerous sign is when love becomes tied to financial obedience. This one is extremely common. The moment you refuse a financial request, the mood changes. Suddenly, they become distant, cold, irritable, passive aggressive. Affection disappears, communication changes. The relationship atmosphere becomes tense until you comply. That is emotional conditioning. Unfortunately, many people don't realize they are being trained like this. Over time, they stop saying no because saying no comes with emotional punishment. Some people don't even notice when they start budgeting their decisions around another person's anger. Another overlooked red flag is when somebody sabotages your ability to earn. This is very important. Financial abuse is not only about taking money, it is also about reducing your ability to make money. Some partners deliberately create instability around your work. They pick fights before interviews, start drama before important meetings, destroy your confidence before business opportunities, create emotional chaos during exams or professional growth periods. Oblivious to the tactic, the victim often thinks, maybe this relationship is just stressful. No. Some people unconsciously or consciously destabilize environments that increase your independence because your growth threatens their control. Another subtle form of financial abuse is excessive dependence disguised as romance. We should do everything together. You don't need separate savings. Why are you planning alone? Couples should share everything. Now, sharing is healthy, but you have to notice when somebody becomes offended by your financial boundaries very early, especially when they pressure you to merge finances quickly, and also when they want access they have not earned. You have to understand that people rush financial intimacy because it gives them leverage. Another red flag people ignore is when somebody intentionally keeps you financially confused. No clarity, no planning, no transparency. You never know where money is going. Bills are hidden. Debts appear suddenly. Stories keep changing. Today they say they invested money. Tomorrow they say they loaned it. Next week there's another emergency. Confusion is a powerful control tactic because confused people struggle to make informed decisions, and many victims remain trapped because they are too mentally exhausted to untangle the financial chaos around them. Another overlooked sign is humiliation around money. Some people embarrass their partners financially on purpose. They mock them publicly, bring up financial mistakes during arguments, compare them to richer people, use money to establish superiority. You can't even afford this. If not for me, where would you be? You should be grateful I tolerate you. That is not love. A relationship should not feel like permanent indebtedness. Another dangerous red flag is isolation disguised as protection. Your friends are bad influences. Your family is using you. Why are you discussing money with outsiders? Slowly, the victim loses external perspective. This is dangerous because financially abusive people, like most abusers, thrive in isolation. When nobody else sees the situation clearly, manipulation becomes easier. Another sign people miss is forced dependency after major life transitions. This happens a lot after marriage, childbirth, relocation, or job loss. One partner suddenly controls everything: bank accounts, expenses, transport, food, even basic personal purchases. The victim starts asking permission for survival. Imagine being a grown adult afraid to buy toiletries without approval. That is not partnership. That is power imbalance. Sadly, many people normalize this because society romanticizes sacrifice without discussing autonomy. Another subtle sign is when somebody acts threatened by your financial education. You start learning about investments, savings, business, career growth, and suddenly they become irritated. They mock your interest, call you too ambitious, say social media is influencing you. Why? Because knowledge reduces dependency. Financially abusive people often prefer uninformed partners because uninformed people are easier to control. Another overlooked pointer is when generosity comes with invisible contracts. This one traps many people. Someone helps you financially, but later weaponizes the help. Every argument becomes, after all I've done for you. Every disagreement becomes, you're ungrateful. The help was never truly free, it was leverage. Healthy generosity does not repeatedly demand emotional submission as repayment. Another major sign is when fear enters financial conversations. You become anxious discussing money, scared to ask questions, afraid to disagree, nervous about expenses. Pay attention to that. Your body often notices abuse before your mind fully accepts it. If simple conversations about finances feel emotionally dangerous, something deeper may be wrong. Another subtle form of financial abuse is strategic unreliability. Some people deliberately refuse stability so that you will permanently overfunction. They forget responsibilities, avoid planning, refuse accountability. This causes you, the responsible one, to compensate. You pay, you fix, you rescue, you carry, until exhaustion becomes your normal state. Many strong people don't even realize they are being exploited because society praises them for holding everything together. Another dangerous red flag is when somebody discourages long-term security. They don't want you saving, investing, owning property, building emergency funds. They discourage it because they know that emergency funds create options and options in turn creates freedom. Financial abusers often fear the moment you realize, I can survive without this relationship. One of the biggest signs of financial abuse is this: you no longer feel free. Free to decide, free to grow, free to spend responsibly, free to rest, free to say no, free to live. At its core, financial abuse is about shrinking another person's freedom until dependence feels normal. This is why many victims stay longer than outsiders expect. It is difficult to leave when somebody has slowly disconnected you from confidence, support systems, resources, and financial stability. People often ask, why didn't they just leave? What they don't understand is that financial abuse is usually gradual. Nobody wakes up one morning and willingly signs up for control. It happens slowly, piece by piece, boundary by boundary, compromise by compromise, until one day the person realizes they no longer recognize themselves. This conversation is not about teaching people to become selfish or hyper independent. Healthy relationships require generosity, support, partnership, interdependence. Healthy love should never require your helplessness. Let me repeat myself. Healthy love should never require your helplessness. A good partner may support you, but they should not weaken you. A good partner may help you financially, but they should not make you afraid of surviving without them. A good partner may lead in some areas, but they should not erase your autonomy. Real love does not fear your strength. Real love does not punish your independence. Real love does not need your dependence to feel secure. One of the most important things people can do is learn the difference between support and control disguised as care, because sometimes the most dangerous abuse is the kind society taught people to mistake for love.